All right, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Gino. I'm back. I got a super special episode for you guys. You guys see we just had 35 pounds catching fish off the beds. If you haven't seen Frank Oliva's fish like catches January 2020, you are missing out. We're talking about catching Mega Mondo, Florida monster bass on the beds, and we're talking. Listen,
out there.
You know I'm a guide, right? And I get hired by a lot of tournament anglers. He's a competitor. He's a guy. So many guys have come to me over the years. Oh, dude, Ben sees I'm the best bad fisherman on the planet, dude. I'm the fucking bad dude.
Yeah.
People, when I tell you, and they sound confident, right? And perception's reality. I'm thinking, this dude's the juice, right? But then I start asking questions, and I think to myself, man, no, that doesn't apply to certain situations, right? This is the best bed fisherman I've ever met in my life. I'm a second generation guy, brother. I'm talking about a lifetime of experience on the water. And I've never met anybody that can read a bed like this guy. You guys had a lot of questions about how we're catching the fish.
Yep.
You guys had a lot of questions about how we're finding the fish. I'll tell you how we found the fish. I got that down pat, brother. I can
100.
find a pile of meat, brother.
Yes, sir.
But this dude blew my mind, right? And you've seen him in one of my videos. There's another video I haven't edited yet. That video is where he really blew my mind. I will get that posted, but I wanted to do this for y'all because you had a lot of questions, and I wanted him to be able to answer it. And Frank as well. Frank and I have been on a mission to catch fish on beds. And, you know, we've realized some things over the years, and we've talked about it, and we're super excited to put it into play. Then I ran into this guy. Rich has been trying to get me in contact with him for a long time.
Wait.
So we're going to drill him, guys. We're going to hammer out some questions for this dude, right?
This is awesome.
And let me tell you, for Gino to call me up as soon as he gets off the water with somebody and say, Frank, you have to meet this guy, it's unbelievable because 90% of the time he calls me and goes, I'm never getting in the boat with that bozo again. So I'm dying to hear what this guy has to say just as much as you probably are. Because he already told me like 20 minutes ago exactly what I did wrong yesterday. Looking at a friggin' 7 or 8 pounder on a bed, he was like, yep, this is where you messed up. And I'm just like, I have no clue.
We're going to get in a story about Gino, too. We're going to get in a story about Gino.
We got a couple. So here's
something
recent that blew my mind. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
Tyler's Fishing Post just posted a video. We won a tournament. We got shot at. We almost died.
Oh, yeah.
I worked this fish on a bed for 3 hours. I called this guy up, explained the situation. Within 20 minutes, I had the fish in the boat. Blew my mind. Anyways, let's back on up and let's start hammering this dude with some questions. And I'm going to talk about some shortcomings I had before we really get, because this is some basic stuff that I was missing. It's super basic, but you guys are probably missing it.
But everybody misses it.
Yeah,
not,
you guys
everybody misses it.
But you guys are probably missing it too. So many years of my life, because my dad wasn't a bed fisherman, right? He wasn't into bed fishing. A lot of those old timers aren't.
They
right?
never are.
Yeah.
Leave them alone, let them spawn. Their new jobs, catch them afterwards.
Yeah.
Catch them afterwards.
Catch them on the way in, on the way out.
Yeah, that's
right?
it. If you don't catch them then, leave them alone. Let them do their job. Let the male do his job. That's what he's there for. If you get lucky and catch her, okay. Throw outside the bed. Don't throw in the bed. That's when I grew up, that growing fishing, people were like, you don't want to catch that fish off the bed. Then one day, dude said, dude, you're missing out. And I said, show me. And that's how it happened. Until
I started fishing full time, like every single day, I had no clue. I would go through a couple canals. I'd see some empty beds and think, dude, I missed it again. I missed it again this year, right, Frank? How does that happen?
Same exact thing I used to do, and then I slowed down and
then you wait for a full moon, you wait for this, you wait for that. Listen, if you guys are in Florida, if it gets cold and that water starts warming, you best believe they're pulling up somewhere, right? Am I right?
Oh my God. I'm going to search every weed line, every canal. I'm going to look, every tree I look at, I'm going to look. If there's a white spot, I'm going to pull back just to see if something fell in there, if that's a fish. If there's a buck this big, I swear to God, I'm going to sit there and wait and see if anything's around it.
That's huge. If they're not, like, here's one thing that he told me that he likes to do. Like, when there's cloud cover, when there's a front, and he's got fish that he knows on the bed, he goes and sees how they're reacting. He wants to see if they're going to pull off. If they're
pull on. Yeah, I will literally go to the bed and say I got a 7 and I got a little buck there. The front's coming. I will go literally sit, and I won't even move my boat. I power pull down. I'll sit there and I sit in front of my boat and I watch the fish. Front comes through. Okay, how did that fish react? Did the buck pull off? Did the female pull off? How far did she go? How do I know what that fish is going to do? I've literally followed a female 50 yards offshore and found 15 other females sitting and doing the same thing. And could not believe it. Couldn't believe it. On Lake Pansofsky, I did it. There's 15 others there. And I sat there throwing a chatterbait through them and murdered them.
Get
I caught 35 pounds sitting right there, absolutely murdered, because I followed that one bed off to the thing. The last tournament, same thing. Front came through, it was blowing 50 miles an hour. I had to throw an anchor off the side of the boat because I couldn't, it was getting slacklined. I look over, I told Gina the story, I looked over, there's a 7-pounder on her bed. She just pulled up, throwing back, took a chatterbait. She couldn't believe it, caught her, told my boy, I said, that's it, it's over, it's game on. I can't believe that happened, but when you watch fish sit in a certain way. We have certain stories, certain ways. They're going to ask me questions, I'll answer all of them, but when you look at a fish on a bed, just remember one thing. It's not the head you're looking at. Always remember it's not the head. Promise you that. It's not the head.
Yeah, we got a story about that too. We got a story all about that.
All I look at is the head of the fish.
It's not the head you're looking at, I can promise you that. Sometimes it is, sometimes it ain't, but you can beat a fish up, or you can make a fish bite whether you think you can or not. I don't care.
I know nothing.
It's absolutely the craziest thing in the world. Me and Gino talked about it. I sat there on a fish with Gino, and there was a fish here and a fish here, and I said, Gino, do me a favor, hit that fish in the tail and you catch a fish. That's under 35-pound sack. I mean, legitimately, I said, dude, that's it. That's the key. It's over with. Hit that buck in the tail. She's going to bite. And what'd you do? Straight
I
up.
smoked her in the tail. That fish spun around and bit it. Listen, he let me work. So let's get into this. Well,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell the story and then we're gonna back up because I want to go over some
Yeah,
important
we'll go over
points.
basics. We're getting too far into this.
So he actually coached me through this. He said, I'm gonna watch you and I'm gonna watch the bed, but I'm gonna stay far away from you. So I worked the fish for 15 minutes. Couldn't get her to bite. I got her interested, but she wouldn't eat. So then he pulled up, came over to my boat. He watched what she did, and he goes, listen, the hot spot's over here. This fish is guarding with his tail. I want you to throw in there, smoke the fish in the tail with your weight. I want you to crack her with the weight, and I want you to throw in that heavier weight. And she spun around and smoked it. But let me back way up. Important, very important. Do not think you're going to go into one canal and see empty beds, and the spawn is over. You've got to look. You've got to look on the main lake in protected areas. You got to look in the canals. You got to spend some time, put on miles. When you see these videos and we're catching like megas, like when we cracked that 35-pound bag, it took me 4 hours the night before, and I fished that whole dang day before the evening. And I told him, I said, I don't really have anything going on right now on the beds, but I'm going to sit out here and I'm going to let you guys in a secret. This is a whole nother section of this video because it's a question you guys asked in the comments. I told you I'd go over it. Several of you guys asked. But I spent the night out there for 4 hours. And I'm telling you, I ran every single canal and every main lake spot I found on Lake Griffin. And there was 2 areas where it was going down. I'm talking 2 areas. And one was one of the most obvious areas ever. And it was like the last place I checked because it's super obvious. And I thought there's no chance there's going to be any beds here because and it was loaded, right? So
giant bags.
you have got to put in the damn, you got to put in the time.
Yes.
You got to do it and it's going to be worth it. I promise you, do it. Do not get deterred. Don't wait for the full moon. You're being foolish. Bright skies always help, right? Bright skies are good. Clouds are
caught them up in complete overcast. 2 9-pounders one day, completely overcast day.
Yeah, it's overcast. Well, see, the thing about overcast is the knowledge of. I tell people overcast days like glasses. I mean, 100% fact. Good glasses, good everything else. But you got to remember this: if you got good glasses, don't mean you can see the fish.
Yeah.
You have to know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
The bed could be right here, but the fish is right here.
Yeah.
So you're looking at the bed, you never see the fish. One thing, like me and Gino, I don't know if when everybody watched the 35-pound sack, me and Gino, if you look at a video, we're scanning. I'm doing a 360 scan. What I'm missing, he's catching. When you look at our ducks, oh my God, that's a giant. We caught the giant 8-pounder. And when you're scanning, you got to scan. When you see a bed, I don't just look at the bed. I scan the whole bed. I look down, up. It's almost like a square. Mm-hmm. Is what I look at. And when I see a buck and he swims off, I'm following him because I know exactly she's gonna be right there. There's something there. He's not swimming off because he's scared. He's swimming off to find her. Other questions is people ask, like people say, when I see a buck blowing up, his gills will get in that a little bit. When I see that, dude, that's a whole different level. It's ready.
Hey, when you see shiners and minnows and bluegill around a bed, what's that tell you?
Oh my God, giant.
Right? And here's my theory about it.
See, my hands are shaking right now. I'm not joking.
Every time this dude's seen shiners, he goes, Gino, it's going down right here, right now. I'm telling you, we caught bigs there every time. And I think it's they can sense they're about to drop them eggs, right? Or the love juice or something.
What it is.
Right? They want to get that.
Yeah. Well, see, people don't know, too. And people might correct me on this video, but I doubt it because I've been watching shiners and bass for years and years and years. Every time I went down a canal, I'll see like a shiner jumping. The minute I do that, I slow up, I get down there, and I will literally drift to that area because I know there's a big fish. I know it's going to be anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds. It could be 12 pounds. But what happens is when that bass is trying to rub out on the the shiners are rubbing too. So when that male's coming in, and he's actually trying to sperm up with the lady. The shiners are tricking that, and actually the male's actually fertilizing the shiner eggs.
Oh, dang.
So he's guarding the shiner eggs at the same time he's guarding her. That's why if you see all them shiners, they're milking. When you pick them up, there's white coming out of them shiners.
Yep.
They're milking the same thing. So it fires that bass up. He's trying to eat everything around there because he knows them shiners, as soon as she lays, they're going to eat the eggs too.
Dang, it's like a changeling.
It's like
a changeling, right? Like just dropping him.
It's like the craziest thing you ever seen because I actually legitimately watched it one day and I was like, why is these big, these were 12-inch shiners. I'm going, what are they doing around this? The bass was like 5 pounds. He couldn't even eat him. She just blew up on him and I watched the buck doing it and then I see white smoke. And I'm like, the shiner just, what the hell? The shiner's laying out with him. That's the weirdest shit I've ever seen. It's almost like a catch-22. You ain't going to eat me, but I'm going to lay my babies here and you're going to guard them for me. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
Weird.
Here's something I want to touch on that's really cool that actually won me the tournament in the ABA. And I got to give this guy a lot of credit for it. There's 2 things I'm going to touch on briefly, but they're equal in importance. Number 1, your boat position and the way that fish is reacting to where you're at is huge, right? And it was really cool because he explained it to me in really dark water, so you can't quite see it. But you'd see her exit an area and enter an area. But I was fishing in a spring, so I could see it real time. And there was another angler actually on 2 of the fish that I caught in my tournament. And I seen where his boat was. I seen he was in the female's route when she was trying to get back to the bed. And she was getting more and more disconnected the more he pressured her. And it happened to me, and he said, Gino, leave that fish alone for a little while. It happened to me a tournament before. He said, I want you to leave the fish alone, get your boat out of there, think about where she's moving back to, and I want you to get, you don't want to get in the way of where she's moving to, and reposition your boat, right? And after that angler had worked her, it was a second angler in there, and he'd worked her for 3 hours. I was able to catch both fish. One of them was trophy caliber fish. Within 20 minutes of the guys leaving, and it was because he never gave that fish a break. The fish was completely where he was at. It's very crucial that you make the perfect cast. If you watch my 35-pound video, I didn't have to edit any of his clips. I edited one. I edited one.
Yeah.
He had braid on. One clip I edited, and you hear him say, she didn't see this line. But it's one cast and done. It is crucial. If you start making bad casts and you're making mistakes because your boat positioning's bad, and I made the mistake because what we did in this bed fishing video, I've never been on a boat in a long time to where I had someone that actually coached me through a situation, and I had a lot of questions about bed fishing because there's a lot of things I knew and there's a lot of things I've learned, and I've done it on my own. I've never had any guidance at all, so it was really cool to have someone on the boat give me a little bit of guidance. And I let him position the boat every time he caught his fish, and he let me position the boat every time I caught my fish. And he let me fall on my face first and then said, this is what we need to do. But, my fish took me, the longest one was like 27 minutes.
Yep.
But all of his fish were caught within minutes of him getting to the bed. So it's imperative that you watch where this female's moving around. Stay out of her path. Stay a little farther away if you can. And try to make that perfect cast. And know that it's like an optical illusion, man. Like that water, when that bed's sitting there, you're going to have to get way past it. And it's better to get further past it than short it, because if you short it, you're done. And you can spook that fish. But don't get deterred. If she gets disconnected, get away for a little bit. Get away for a little bit and reposition your boat and come back.
I got a question.
I'm
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, shoot it. Good.
So I need to know, when you're first coming up to a bed, whether you know it's a bed that you saw a fish on, you're going back the next day to go catch it, or if it's an area that you're coming into where you know there's going to be beds because how it sets up. When you do flocate that bed, what is the very first thing you do? And then what's your second, third, fourth step? If it even gets that far.
There's a 5-step process every time. It doesn't matter. When I first locate the bed and I see the fish, say there ain't a fish there.
Gotcha.
And I know there was already a fish there. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to sit back off of it. I'm going to stop. Everything I'm doing, even if I know there was just a buck, but I know the female's in the path, I got to find the buck first or find the female. So I'll sit back and I just wait. I don't want to move. I just sit there and I look at the bed, and then all of a sudden you'll know because things happen in the water. Like you know the difference of it. And all of a sudden you'll see a buck come up. When a buck usually comes to the bed, he's going to come up, he's going to swoop, he's going to turn, he's going to take his tail. Here's his tail. He's going to start waving. Then all of a sudden you'll see him stop. When he turns this way, look that way. She's there.
Gotcha.
She's there.
This is my second point that I was going to go over now.
She's there. If you look over that way, you're going to go, oh my God, there it is. So that's step 1 and 2. Number 3 is, okay, wait, where is she going to position the bed at? So when he's going to come out, he's going to push her on the bed. So when he's here, he's still fanning her. He's fanning her face. So she's paying attention to what he's doing. So when I'm watching her, I'm seeing her position and his position.
You watch the whole courtship unfold
Yeah.
in front of you.
So once he moves and she pulls up, she's gonna go like this, or she's gonna lay this way. She's gonna lay this way. They lay it the way. So the minute I see the way she lays, when I watch her tail, I know it's catchable or non-catchable. I'm gonna get, because she's gonna be there and that buck's gonna come up. And she swims off to follow the buck and don't come back, and he's got to push her back on the bed. There's a difference because she's almost there. She just pulled in.
Mm-hmm.
What I'll do is I'll go down the road for 20 minutes and come back. Come back, if she's sitting there, I'll pick up my weight and I'll thump her with it. Pop her right in the head. Doop! And she backs up like that and like looks at it like, oh, what just happened? Like, it's like almost getting smacked in the mouth.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and that tail does this. It's over. She busts off. I'm going to wait a minute. I'm going to hit her again. Then I'm going to get the buck fired up. Then I'm going to fire the buck up. If I get that buck to run up and do this and sit on it, and she comes in and looks and I can get him to eat it, the minute he eats it, I told Gino this. I pop it out of his mouth, she'll go.
Smoke it immediately.
You don't take the buck.
No, he does not like to take the buck if he doesn't have
See,
to.
I've been
If I don't have
noticing.
to, I don't have to. I mean, sometimes you have to because he is anal.
Yeah.
He won't let
I
him-
ran
like,
into
if
that
he
the other
doesn't
day,
let you get it.
But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll pop the buck, keep him in my hand, flip in there, and I'll bump her up. If she don't do it, I'll throw him right back. And when Susie comes in the bed, I hit him and he'll turn. And if he turns on it and spooks off, she'll run right up there and smack your bait, dude.
Lord, see, these are the things I'm missing right
It's
now.
just-
So
Just
listen, and here's the thing that's going to save you guys a lot of time. I want to go over some
Yes.
important points of what he just went over. Analyze the bed. One thing I can tell you about this guy, when I see a fish on the bed, I get so freaking excited, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I'm going to try and get past that bed. And one thing I do, because the mistake I used to make in the beginning was I'd see it, I'd power pull down immediately, dumb. Because I seen them, they seen me, it's dumb.
They look at
So
you.
then I thought I had it figured out. So I'd
contact.
go past it, I'd come back and reposition. But the first thing I do is fire a bait in there. He doesn't do that. He analyzed that bed first. He's going to read that bed and he's going to be like, gee, that's the hot spot. This is the deal. Listen, they're locked on, right? And coloration too. We're going to talk about that too when
Oh,
we
yeah,
say locked
definitely,
on. But he's going to read that bed. He's going to analyze that bed first before he makes his first cast, because you can catch so many more fish so much faster if you do that, right? Like this guy in the tournament, he gave me the tournament. I won the tournament because of this guy, because he wouldn't lay off these fish. He approached them wrong. His boat positioning was wrong. He was right in her path when she wanted to move. He was right in her way, and she'd see him every time, and she'd circle back out. I watched him get more and more disconnected, but I told my co, both those females will eat. I know they'll eat. They want to get back on that bed. That guy will not give him a break. They got to the point where both females were 40 feet from the bed and would not go back to the bed. This dude was making fun of me, talking this, and that. He left. I gave those fish 10 minutes. They were both locked on, and I caught both of them within one cast, back to back. Just bink, bink, 20 minutes.
Analyzation.
Both the fish in the boat. Another thing that I wanted to touch on, when he talks about the buck's positioning, there was an 8-inch buck right next to another angler in the same tournament's boat that had been sitting there for 3 hours. This buck was this big, but listen, when they're waiting for females to come in the canal, they're facing the middle of the canal, because what's happening, and I've seen it unfold last year for the first time, and it was beautiful, right?
Such a spectacular moment.
These
Well,
males are
tell
facing
you.
the center of these canals, and these
Yeah.
females are coming through there, and they're going to swim off, and they're going to try and rub them and get them back onto the bed. They're going to try and rub them and get back on the bed. They're going to try and get them over there, and get them over there, and get them onto that bed. Now, he was facing the wrong direction. This buck was facing directly towards the bank, and I couldn't see a female anywhere. But I told my co, because I seen the situation firsthand with this guy, that there's going to be a female over there. He's watching that woman. He don't want his piece of tail to get away. He's watching her. So I threw in there, and he was too small for me to put in the box. So I pop him because he was hyper aggressive. I kept trying to not get him to eat, but it didn't matter. He was super duper aggressive.
Yeah.
So I'm like, she already dropped, or she's about to drop. Like, he's super duper aggressive, like freaking out. I could have caught this dude 100 times. He'd have bit 100 times. I chuck him back there and throw my bait in the water because I didn't want to break any laws. So he's in the water on the other end of my boat. I pitch in there. As soon as I pitch in there, I see her nose right there. And I stop. I make sure she can't see me. And I literally pick my line up, and I'm just shaking just a little bit. But I made the perfect cast. This is what's important, man.
Yeah.
The mistake I used to make before is not knowing where I needed to be on that bed based on these fish position. And I shook, and she was on it. And it was a done deal. And she was almost 8 pounds, and it won me $5,400. And I got to thank this guy for that. And there was 2 other tournament anglers in this canal and a guy that lived in the canal. Then neither of them seen that fish there. And his boat was right next to it. And also, with fish, like, based on conditions, they're not always locked on that bed. Like he said, you have to look around the beds. So many times I've gone by and thought there weren't fish there. You know, if you have time, sit back and watch. If you don't, throw a bait up in there, right? Would you suggest throw a bait in there, see if they show up?
Well, the thing is, people mess up. Okay, I fish a lot. You know, all of us fish tournaments, whatever. And the biggest thing is when you're bed fishing, and you see a bed and you don't think it's there, when you go by it and come back and throw diagonal from it. Don't throw to it as you see it.
Yeah.
Turn back around, do your little job, come back and throw outside of it, and kind of work it slow. See what's there. See if you can see something move up. Don't just, wing it up in there, because she could be there. Somebody had messed with her.
Yeah.
Or she's just now starting to get to that stage. Like for instance, when I was talking about the chatterbait and all that stuff, sometimes that works, but most of the time a worm or like a trick worm. Like I remember I talked to you, I said, man, just whack a style Cinco. If they're laying off the bottom of the bed, sometimes that just irks them. I don't know why. Everybody in the world talks about bed fishing and what they throw. It's always white, this and that. I'll throw a jet black, doo-doo black thing up in there, and I'm going to catch that bass. I don't think it's the preference of a color. Sometimes it is, but it's the size of the bait. I'm going to tell you right now, the size of the bait means the world.
That's a huge thing I've learned here recently.
Listen, that is the world. I'm telling you, people talk about it. There's some badass bed fishermen out there, and I can go right behind them and clean up every fish they ever seen on the bed because they couldn't catch them, and I will put 50 pounds in the bed.
Funny story about size of, I don't want to say these guys' names, but they're two of the best dudes on the Harris chain. They're brothers. They're straight savages. And this dude talked about having like a nub of a Cinco on there, and you know, we passed each other in the canal, and I was like, dude, you got to check out this bait. And it was this little, I don't even know what you'd call that thing with little flappers all over it that we used to catch that one fish.
Oh,
it's not even a creature. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's a funky looking bait. But I was like, dude, check this bait out. It's sick to death. And he peels off like 2 inches of a Cinco and throws it in the water. I'm like, sneaky little sons of guns, man. So the size of the bait is everything. And I was approaching beds with 2 larger baits for a very long time. You don't have to throw a big bait. Think about what's around that bed. Think about what's around that bed that's harassing those fish. They're not real big for the most part.
If you see big shiners around the bed, I can promise you this: it's gonna be a 10. It's gonna be a giant. I don't give a damn what you say. I'm gonna sit there for all damn day long until that fish pulls in, and I'm gonna catch her. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
Here's a question I used to have so often, and everybody gave me different answers, and I knew that almost all their answers were correct, but it depended on what phase of the spawn that these fish were in. Some guys tell me, you got to catch the bucks. Some guys say, don't catch the buck. You'll never catch the fish, right? It depends on where they're at in the spawn, right?
100%.
So,
100%.
like the other day, I was in a situation. I did a video. It's actually, I don't think I uploaded it to my channel. It's on my Facebook. But I caught the buck on accident because both of them nose down on it. I accidentally caught the buck. I put him in there. And I'm sitting there for like 15 minutes. She never shows back up. He says, you know, if she didn't show up in a little bit, let that buck go and see what happens. I let the buck go. I wait 10 minutes, and sure as heck, I started seeing flashes. He went out there and found her and got her back out on the bed, and I was able to catch her right after that.
Yeah.
So in some situations, and I've seen it firsthand, that buck will be so hyper aggressive. If you don't pop him, you're not going to catch her.
Absolutely. No, I agree. But sometimes.
But what is it? So it's early. I would say, based on my experience, and he can know this better than me, if it's too early and they just started rubbing, he just got her on the bed, and you pop him, she's gone, right?
Oh, she's out.
She's gone.
Yeah, because
right?
she ain't had time to even focus on what he's doing.
If they've already rubbed, if they've already rubbed,
I've done it.
if they've already rubbed, then she's gonna be locked on, and it'll be a little bit more committed. And if you pop him, she's already got something to protect. She's not going anywhere. She's made her decision. That's my man. We're hanging out, right? So it really depends on the situation and where these fish are at. If you're on the water every day, you're gonna know because you're seeing those fish every day. You're gonna know where they're at in their face. But just know it's not over. Now, in a situation that I was in the other day that he helped me out of, this was a pretty wild deal. I've never heard of anybody doing it. I didn't even know it was a thing. But I accidentally caught the buck, but he was 4 pounds. You're in a tournament, dude. You don't want to throw a 4-pounder back, right?
Yeah.
So she's nowhere to be found for 20 minutes, and he goes, Gino, here's what I want you to do. I want you to use a bait that we normally catch these fish on, right? And, you know where she's been moving to. I want you to wing it way past there and start bringing that bait in. And you're going to lure her back onto the bed with the bait. And I'm like, dude, talking about. But I trust him.
Crazy.
I trust him.
He trusts me,
but I still thought he was nuts. So I'm firing a speed worm because that's what we do down here. We fish them like swim baits, and I'm
Yep.
reeling that swim bait back, I'm reeling it back, throwing it out there, reeling it back. Boom, there she is on the bed. I'm like, oh my God, he wasn't lying.
Yeah.
I
I've been
fucking-
trying. He told me about that trick, and I've been trying it, but I gotta really just dedicate to
You
it.
gotta dedicate to it.
You got to be
It happens.
committed. Tyler was
That's
there.
the
He's seen
thing.
it
is
firsthand.
getting
It's
committed to this
insane.
stuff is
Yeah.
so
You gotta
hard.
believe it. And listen, if I didn't spend a couple days with this dude, I would have thought he was so full of crap, and I would have been gone out of there, and I would have never caught her, and she was a trophy, and she won me a lot of money. So, got her back on the bed, switched baits immediately, fired her in there, popped her, done deal. It looked like it happened super smooth and easy in Tyler's video, but it was a 3-hour ordeal.
Yeah, it was. He told me. He's like, bro,
caught
I
her
don't know what to
freaking
do
out,
in
dude.
3 hours.
She looked like the biggest
What
fish
am I
I've ever
supposed to
seen.
do?
She
I
ended up
said,
being
I
a
got
short
you.
fish. She was like 23 inches, but she was almost 9 pounds.
Yeah,
Just
it's
a
crazy.
short, she was a square, wide fish. And
She's
she
what we
just
call a
looked-
perfect fish.
Yeah,
She's
exactly.
a perfect fish. She's up, down, wide. Like it's like the 10-4 I caught. She was 20. It was 24 by 24.
Jeez.
Just square, son.
Square.
Square
Square
as
grouper.
square as
Like
as
a
square as
brick.
they
I
get.
mean, bricks.
So to catch or to not catch the buck depends on the situation they're in. That is crucial. So if it's early, just started rubbing, just got old girl back on the bed, you pop that buck, she's gone. And she's
Sometimes
not
she
like
won't come back. Like legitimately, I've done it. Been excited. Went up there, popped the buck because he ate real quick. I was trying to get out of his mouth, caught her, and she followed all the way to the boat. And I'm like telling my buddy, man, throw your other bait in there. I put him in thing, and she never came back. I threw him back. I went back to that bed 10 times, and that fish had been 8-9 pounds, and she never came back. But 4 days later, I came down the canal, and it was the same fish because she had a mark on her. She was all the way at the end of the canal with another buck.
Yeah, see? She hadn't decided on her man
Yeah,
yet.
and
Too
so
early.
so it took me a little while to figure that out. Well, that was 3 years ago, and that's what made me think, all right, you're good at bed fishing, but now you just learned something totally opposite of what you ever learned from anybody ever taught you, and now you know what to do. And I was like, man, they're done.
Yeah.
You're never gonna get away from me. Never.
So
You're done.
So here's something that was kind of cool that I noticed that he did that was a mistake I was making. You know, I would throw in there, and maybe I'd see the male and the female. Maybe I just see the male, and then she was close by, and then she was on her mat, whatever. And I throw in there, I go to shaking that bait right away. Don't do that, right? He throws in there. He gets that bait in the sweet spot, and he sits and watches. He wants to see how these fish react first. He'll sit there and watch and see how they react. And once he knows he's got the fish engaged that he's looking for, he slowly starts moving slow, and he heats it up as she gets closer. And she starts to nose down. He heats it up even more, and then pops it, boom, right?
Yeah.
It is a cadence. It is a cadence like when you're worm fishing. It's not. It looks simple. I'm just gonna shake my bait.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
there's a cadence. I watch it. There's a rhythm. It's like dancing. He will literally, that bait gets fired in there. He gets it on the spot that he knows that she's gonna guard, right? Whether it's a little stick that's in the bed,
Well,
right?
you wanna
Frank,
just
what the
watch
hell?
it.
What is about these fucking freaking
Brother.
sticks? Excuse my
a
French.
stick.
A little
Brother.
stick or a little
But you know what
like
it is?
shell.
It's that little shell that's on the side of that stick that's that big around.
On one of my betting videos, I'm going to put it out the full. I'm going to explain the whole scenario that went down on one of the catches I just posted. I literally threw into this bed, and there was a stick I couldn't even see that my football head jig got stuck on, and I went all the way back around to try to pull it out the other way. Had to break it off in this bed, pull back and get in position again. First flip in there, the friggin', I think it was the 9-2 or the 9-1 that I caught. First flip in there, she smoked it. But there's always that little sweet spot
It is. It's
that
just
you
a
can
crazy-
get something stuck in just a little.
But that is where they want
Didn't
it.
mean
Yeah.
That's where she's gonna rub her eggs out.
That's where
on.
she's mad.
And what
Yeah.
the best thing that's worked for me is if I can get my bait up to that and then shake it pretty damn hard, at some point you're almost like, hey, I might be stuck now, and that sun's gonna come down there and they suck it right out of there, no problem.
Well, when me and you're talking
Game
about the
on.
video, when you looked at the video, me and Gino, like you see me looking around, I ain't paying attention. I'm just looking around, just waiting and waiting. I'm following everything, but I want to see what's swimming around me. I know people think it's crazy, but actually I'm not even paying attention. I'm feeling, and I'll explain this to you. Every piece of shell on that bed matters. So when you know it's there and you know the fish is there. When she comes back, that little shell. So when I'm sitting there, I'm slightly shaking, and finally all of a sudden it's like, okay, she's there. And I know when I do that one little pop with my finger and I hit her in that nose and she sucks it down, and I watch that gill plate shut up. You already know what time it is. There's no in betweens. And the best part is when she ain't fired up, and like we talked about this too. I put an ounce and a half weight on her. I'm gonna pop her dead ass. I'm gonna hit her. And I'm gonna make her madder than hell. I watch her go from colors to straight black. She's mad.
Like, boom, put the mask on, let's
And
go.
it might be my next flip, and guess what? I'm going to laugh. I'm going to sit there, I'm just going to, come on, girl, I know what time it is. I'm going to pop her in the mouth, and she's going to go, whoop. When she sucks it, she's gone. It's like a squirrel. It's not like she just picked it up to move. She's gone. I ain't got to do nothing but reel down and set the hook, and she's already out here, 10 foot.
Something cool too that he has had me do. Number one, big mistake I was making was throwing such a super duper lightweight all the time on these beds. I thought I had to really finesse it up. So I start with a 1/2 ounce period. I'm gonna have a 1/2 ounce. That's the minimum deal, and I'm gonna have a 1 ounce tied on. So I keep Now my bobber stop, I roll up so I can get it up about 10, 12 inches away from the line. So that way, if she sucks that bait up, that weight's not right there, and it doesn't cause an alarm. If you got a finicky, fickle fish, that could cause problems. So you want that bait to be able to move freely.
Yeah, and I'll explain more on that
and
too.
then you want that heavy weight so that bait stays pegged to that bed. Yep. Good. You want that you want that bait to stick to that bed, because if I'm sitting there and I'm trying to shake and I got a light weight, I'm moving that bait way too much. You're moving it way too much, and you're screwing yourself, because they're not dumb. They didn't get that big because they're dumb. Just because they're on their bed doesn't mean they're easy to catch, brother. You're gonna have fish that you're gonna work forever and ever and ever and ever and ever to get them to bite. But if you sit there and you're working the bait, you're working the bait out of the bed, working the bait out of the bed, working the bait out of the bed, they're getting hit to that, man. They're falling that bait out, and guess where that bait's going? It's going right to you, right? Then all of a sudden you realize you're getting the fish is getting more and more disconnected, and then you got to leave that fish alone. Yep. If you're fishing a tournament, brother, or you're fishing heavy pressured waters, guess what? The next boat might just come in and snipe that fish when you move down.
Well,
right?
Another point is, like with that heavyweight too, and me and him talked about this. When I peg that like that, okay, this is what happens. That bass comes in, and she gets choked. She's gonna grab it. So if she grabs it, she might try to spit it. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? That weight's still there. You ain't done nothing. You ain't moved it. When she spits it, all of a sudden it falls right back to the same spot. If you're shaking that already, she's gonna grab it. She's mad now. And then she's gonna feel the weight. She thinks it's trying to fight it. So that right there is the catch.
Keeps you in the bed. You don't have to make another cast. You don't have to bring that fish to you to
she's
to
already pissed.
Yourself.
All you gotta do is just pull it back a little bit, man. Next time she grabs it, she thinks it's alive. It's gonna feel weight. When she feels that weight, she's gonna haul butt off that bed. And you had experience around. Remember, we had to switch positions from around the dock.
Yeah.
She was smoking you, but she would go around the dock. You're like, dude, it's the only way we're gonna do it. Then we watch 8-pounder launches 10 miles out of the water. This was a great moment. But the positioning of it, we're like, look, she's gonna smoke. It was the craziest thing. That was a great moment for both of us, because it was like, okay, she's here, but she ain't doing nothing. You're first flipping her. She knocked the bait off your line.
Yeah.
She legitimately tore it off. You're like, holy crap, it's gone. He went to set the hook and the bait was gone.
Yeah.
We knew. That's when I was doing my glasses. I put them back on. And I said, "That's it."
Then she got it, went around the pile, and I didn't set the hook. I just kind of let her until she got out of her mouth. Because if I set the hook,
done.
I was broke off, brother.
Yeah, we're using that fluorocarbon and stuff.
And that was my fault. I positioned the boat poorly, and he's like, "Listen, we need to move around here." Number one, it was hard for me to pitch from that angle because it made so the dock is this way. I'm here, so I had to slice that thing in so close. And
it's almost like you had to whip it.
It was really hard to get to the sweet spot. And that fish wanted to come this way. So if I'm here and she comes this way, that pylon's here. So he had me reposition this way. So if she went to go that way and she put it in her mouth, I'm going to set the hook and bring her back this way.
She came
and if
right
you
out.
see in the video, when I set the hook on that fish, I bring her head this way, reel, bring her right out, and it was game over, baby. It was lights out. We planned that. That was not.
Yeah.
That was
a long
by
time.
accident or by coincidence.
I don't know why she wanted to guard a pole.
Planned based on what she was doing.
She wanted to guard a pole.
Yeah.
Here's the bed. Yeah. This big around. This one little piece of pole was hers.
Something really cool that'll blow your mind right now.
Yeah.
Listen. Do they always lay on the bed?
No.
Guys, I had a fish that could give 2 craps if I put it on the bed, but there was brush next to the bed. The buck chose that bed. The buck made that bed. She's got to rub them eggs out. And right next to the bed, directly next to that bed, there was sticks next to the bed. So here's your white spot, and here's your sticks.
Yep.
That was her spot. Now, if I fired in that bed, that buck was going to smoke it. But I made the mistake. Not even a mistake. I cast it in there. The buck came after. I moved it out. As soon as it got in the sticks, old girl was on it like white on rice.
Big time.
And I tell him, like, what the hell, dude? I can't figure out. I couldn't get her to react on the bed. I throw her next to the bed. He goes, dude, they don't always lay on the bed. They choose where they're going to lay. And it makes perfect sense. That bed wasn't adequate for her to rub them eggs out. She loved that dude, whatever. She decided she wants to make babies with him. But she needed those sticks.
She wanted to hide them eggs. She was just almost like she wanted to hide them in them sticks for some reason.
She was gonna,
when you told me that, I'm like, dude, that's the spot. Yeah. That's your honey hole. She's going to eat. Like, the minute you touch that, I've seen beds legitimately this big. and there's a bass this big on him. It's
Yeah.
like crazy. I'm like, where's the buck?
Yeah.
He looked beside him. He's like this big. I'm like, bro, what's going on?
Blows my mind, man. Blows my mind. And don't think they're little because they look little. Frank has had
Oh
that
my
experience.
gosh.
That 9, was she 928?
928.
He's thinking, I got me a 4 or 5 pounder. And then he sets the hook and old Pearl's getting drug around the
I
freaking
said
canal,
in the video,
dude.
I pull up on this fish. I go, I got a
Is that
5
the
pounder.
video we
for you
watched?
guys.
Yeah.
I watched you get pulled around. Like, what the hell? That was badass, though.
Dude, that was the meanest friggin' 9 pounder I ever caught in my life in that marina. I never had one whoop me like that on 40-pound bray with a stout rod. Like, that girl was
Well,
friggin'
dude, you're getting
gone.
drug in the canal video, too.
Oh, yeah, that
She
one too.
swung you sideways, too, brother. So
Yeah,
listen,
that
here's
one
something.
blitzed me
Here's
on
something
15-pound
that yeah,
fluorocarbon,
like
bro.
Yeah.
me and Frank have like put our heads together, and we were like determined because you know Frank is a power fisherman, I'm a power fisherman, and you know we've gotten deterred by the spawn so many times, and last season I spent a ton of times because I found that. You know, I like to keep it simple for my customers, and you know everybody's skill set's different, and you can't legitimately just can't expect everybody to be able to do the same thing. So I would start in canals all the time, and then I realized that it just became evident to me that these fish down here, when we say they spawn for 4, 5, 6 months. They're spawning for 4, 5, and 6 months.
It's incredible.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it can happen in
It's
November,
incredible.
December, January, February, March. When that water's steady over 75, they're pretty much done,
I
right?
found beds in Toho. When was the ABA champion? Like October?
October.
I found beds in Lake Toho in October. Not a lot. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, it's going down. But I found 4 beds in one little corner up shallow, and it blew my mind. In October, it was after the first cold
Well, you know, the
front.
main
So-
thing you'll
so-
see too.
so-
People don't realize this, and I'm gonna tell you this. This is a true story. When you're out there, and I've seen what you've done when you're looking at your brim beds. Don't think there ain't a bass bed in the middle of it. My biggest bass last year, the 13.6 I caught, was in the middle of a brim bed.
No way.
There was
That's
shell
insane.
crackers this big around it, and the 13.6 was laying in the middle of the bed with about 3.5 pound buck, and I couldn't believe it. I was going
In
over
the
the shell.
summertime.
Well, it was April,
Oh yeah, I mean.
and
That's
I
when
said,
they start. That's when the
Summer,
bluegills
huh?
start. Yeah.
I was like, I'm like, holy crap! I said, I went over there to go catch these shell crackers because I found them, and I'm gonna eat the crap on them. They're huge. They're like pound and a half shell crackers. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna tear them up. Next thing I see this big old bass. I'm like, it can't be a bed. And I seen the buck rubbing her. Man, I backed up, pulled out the old dumping rod, got her. I got her about 3 flips. The buck was pretty cool. He pick it up and throw it out, and I slap him back. And how I really got that fish, he pretty much slapped my bait to her. Like when he hit it with his tail, she went. When she sucked it, I was scared. I was like, oh, she got it. But she never moved. I'm like, just set the hook. My mind was like, it was like a 5-second delay. It was like, do it. No, fine. I set the hook. It wore on blue. And I called my wife, and that was a crazy thing. I mean, 13.6 is a big fish. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, it's giant. When you pull them off the beds,
They don't
too,
look real.
They don't.
13 pounder doesn't look real.
They
10
don't.
pounder
I've
doesn't
never
look real.
seen one in person.
Well,
like, in my
they really
hands.
don't look real.
This kid's caught quite a few 11s. They don't look real.
The
They don't
11
look
pounders
real.
don't look real to me. I'm
They don't
like,
look real.
this
It doesn't
is
look like a
not-
real
You know the
fish. It looks like
difference-
it's photoshopped.
Yeah, you know, a 10, 11, and 12 pounder, I mean, honestly, this is how I look at it. They almost all look the same because a 10's mouth's like this, 11's like this. The difference between an 11, 10, and a 12 is the bellies, right? Or the
Yeah.
girth or how old they are. When you get to a 13, you're going,
They're deformed.
yeah, like what's going on with it? Like, it's like the craziest looking thing in the world. She's got big old eyes on her, quarter eyes, and her belly's like this. You look like she's trying to poop all the time. And you're going, man, and you're holding it. You can't believe it's a 13 pounder. But when you finally get it, it's a goal. Like, you know, it's been a long time since you caught a 13 pounder,
20 years.
20 years, and I've caught one for the last 4 years.
Unbelievable.
And which is luck. It's luck. I'll be
Yeah, this
honest with
guy's
you,
caught a
it's-
lot of teener bass in Florida. This is not California we're talking about. We're talking
No,
about
this is
Florida.
Florida.
This is Florida. So it's a freak to get teener bass. It's freak. It's 10 pounders are not common.
But when you
9
search
pounders,
for 'em-
8 pounders are not
I
common.
catch more 8 and 9 pounders than I friggin' want.
Well, when you, yeah, it's like,
admit.
you know, when you certain areas you search. For 2 years, I searched this one area, and I found a giant fish. And I followed her for days and days and days. She finally landed on bed. My wife's a witness to this story, and she'll tell you the story. She was 14 pounds, 4 ounces. I followed this fish for days.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah,
Is
put it on YouTube. Yeah, it's on YouTube.
It doesn't
And-
even look real.
I mean, it took me days. I went out there every morning, 6:30 in the morning, I could see, and I followed her till daylight, till the sun went down, till I finally found where her bed was at. I went over there first thing in the morning. I sat there waiting for her to pull up. When I caught her, called my wife. I'm hysterical. I'm like, God, she's 14 pounds 4 ounces. Pull up. There's one guy on the thing. He videoed me sitting there doing it. I released her back. It was the craziest thing in the world. But that's the key about bed fishing. If you find fish, there's a lot of people out there bed fish. The key to bed fishing is studying the beds. If you don't study the bed, if you think you're cool at it and you're good at it because you throw a white bait, trust me, white's just a color because you can see it. You can throw any color, but preference and positivity that goes down your line. Whatever color you think you're good at is what you throw. I promise you. Whatever color you're good at. Do you know I proved this? And what I tell you, let confidence go down your line, you'll catch fish.
Absolutely.
If you're confident in that bait, throw it. Just make sure it ain't so.
So the bait size.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Well, you know, like we were talking about, like baits. Like I say, for instance, here's Gino's phone, right? Okay, there it is. Don't throw that bait in the damn bed. Think about this. Okay, the bass has seen that bait for a long time. He don't want to look at that bed. He don't look at that bait. He's gonna chase it out of there, but he don't want to pick. He's gonna pick half of it up. So my preference of baits, I don't like a bait no longer than 2.5, maybe 3 inches long, about that big. I mean, to me, sometimes, I've literally takes a little piece this big and catch them. Sometimes he was witness to it. I said, check this out. We're flying by beds. I said, watch this. I threw a chatterbait in there. Someone catch it real quick. Both of them.
Caught the buck and female back to back
Back to
while
back.
we're idling by.
I don't through. I said, I'm going to get him. Boom.
On a chatterbait.
Boom. On chatterbait. I said, well, I
Ridiculous.
knew they were going to bite it because the way they set
Oh,
up.
I got a question.
Go ahead,
I got a question. We went by a pair, and I didn't ask him this while we were on the water. We went by a pair, and he goes, you want to see the 2 hardest fish there is to catch in this canal? Play with those fish and see what happens. What told you that?
Because she was flashing. When he was rubbing her, she was turning them bright, brilliant colors. Man, they start turning colors like that, and he's rubbing her. Oh, she's in labor. Like, it's like a female. She's moaning. She's groaning.
So
He's
it's like
just...
the stress in her body causing her to change her coloration,
Change her
right?
colors. When they turn that solid, like, whitish color, like almost like you catch them off the y'all shell beds, and she's got them black lines, she's laying. You're not going to catch her. That's the hardest fish. Now, can you piss her off to do it? Yeah. You watched it. It was.
Yeah.
I did it. But it was just a lucky thing. She was ready. She was just starting to flash. That big 8 we caught. But if they're flashing like that, I'll be honest with you. If you want to learn
She was early on, though, right?
Yeah,
she just started to flash. She was starting to lighten up. Her colors were a lot
she was
lighter.
still dark.
Early in the face.
Early, like, we just caught her as she was starting.
And he said, listen, this is a time thing. It's got to happen now because he's like, you see your fish up there? She's still black. This fish is a lot lighter. This is going to be a tricky deal. And I can guarantee you if I lined up on that bed, I might have made some mistakes and lost her altogether. It was imperative. He made one pitch. She seen the line. He pulled out, made one more pitch, and the fish was caught. But he knew she was right at the edge. But we went down the canal into another pair, and he goes, this is the hardest fish you're going to see to catch. And it's because she was flashing. She was in labor. So it's kind of like you ever see someone get cut real bad or hurt real bad, they lose all the color in their body, or a woman goes into labor, she's all pale or whatever. It's all that stress.
Oh,
and it's too much stress
But
on
was
her
it
body.
cool to watch, though?
Yeah, super cool to watch.
And he kept doing it, and I'm throwing right on her. She wouldn't do nothing. I was taking the bait, and I was rubbing across. I said, look, she ain't going to be able to caught. If you want to learn something about bed fishing, honestly, when you see that, sit back. Watch for that 20 minutes of what's going on, and watch what that buck's doing. Now, the bed's here. He might be rubbing off here. That's what you missed. That's why you missed that fish. Every time he's throwing that bed, she's running off because this is where she's at. He's rubbing her where she wants to be rubbed at. It's not all about him. Yes, does he do the job? Does he going to guard? But remember this, too. This is something I ain't showed you yet. Don't think just the male guards the fry.
Yeah.
Something I learned a long time ago. I've caught more giant bass after the fry. I've caught the male in the fry throwing trick worms. Turn around, throw a swim bait through there, and caught the female that was help guarding it. Sometimes they will follow and catch. You can catch the female at the same time, guarding the fry with the male.
So here's something pretty
Craziest
cool.
thing I've ever
like
seen.
he's talking about right there. 2 out of the 3 fish I caught off the bed in my tournament had already dropped. They were done. They'd already dropped. Right? They were done. And they were guarding. And it was super weird. The 2 other anglers gave up on him. And I was able to catch him. But he's right. They'll guard too.
They will guard.
It's a real thing. And I had one fish. The other fish I had she still hadn't dropped yet, right? So it was a different situation, a little bit easier. But the other 2 had already dropped. They had no eggs in their belly at all. They were done.
You know, there's gonna be a lot of people gonna see this. You know, everybody's got their own preference about bed fishing. Only thing I can tell you is I was taught by one of the best I've ever seen in my life, and it was 3 flips. If I didn't flip, I was net boy all day. And I tell you what, it was frustrating to do that. But when I set up and I actually did it, and I watched what he did, and I watched every move he did, and I focused because when we get to the bed, he went through. And I got frustrated. I'm like, why are we sitting here for 10 minutes? Now you know why. Because I showed you, I'm like, He studied everything about that fish. No wonder I could catch her in 3 flips. Once I learned that, then I was beating him. Then he was like, oh, okay, you studied me. And that's a cool experience, but you have to get somebody with the knowledge to do it. Or go out there and do it yourself. But remember, I'm telling you, sit back and study the fish. Don't go up there and just beat them to death. Study them, sit back, watch them, especially if they're rubbing and if they're light. Study that fish. That's what got me to where I'm at now. I'm not saying I'm the best in the world, but I tell you this. If it's there, she ain't flashing, I'm catching her. She's
and listen, so here's something pretty cool too. I promise y'all, I'll tell you. I had half a dozen y'all ask me how I find fish in a hurry.
Yes, sir.
And that's what a spotlight, brother. Listen, if you can now, it is imperative that you read tournament rules if you're a tournament angler. Some tournaments don't allow it. Big Bass Tour used to be okay. Now it's not okay.
Not okay.
Right?
Yep.
But some tournaments do not mention anything about it. It's okay. And if you're a weekend angler and you got one day to fish, go out bed fishing, Friday night, brother, start your morning a little late, man. It's okay to start at 9 o'clock in the morning and go bed fishing. Stay out Friday night and get you a spotlight and get out there and go to work. And you can cover some water pretty quick and you can find these fish. And you can find fish that you would miss during the daytime that are in a little bit deeper beds.
100%.
So it is really a cool thing to be able to kind of narrow your search and find a bunch of fish on the beds you typically want to fish. Spotlight, that's how I do it. I use a big spotlight and a headlamp. They're actually 2 different colors, and it helps some like one's like that yellow hue. The other ones are like bright LED. In some situations, one works better than the other. Depends on the water clarity, and that changes throughout the lake. So that's a pretty cool way to check them. Another thing to think about is when these fish, when you get in a canal that's early, it's just happening, and these fish are just coming out to rub these fish. There's a ton of fish in that middle of that canal, so you need to be throwing jerk baits and chatterbait, something. They're gonna be super aggressive. He was on the boat with me. We're in the marsh. He's like, dude, that's a 10-pounder, Gino. She don't want to be rubbed. She's pissed off. Like, she was pissed at this buck.
Oh God.
She's thrashing. This buck's trying to come out and rub her to get her on the bed. He's like, dude, that's a giant. That's a giant fish. I throw my jerk bait out. Beep, 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 beep. Catch the buck. Boom! She smokes the buck. She tries to kill him. They can be
smoking a
when they're looking to and they're thinking about just about to get on the bed, or they get super duper hyper aggressive. So when it's just starting to go down, think about that. And if it's your only day to fish, or if you're a tournament angler and they're early on and they're like the hard to catch fish because he's just getting her corralled in and she's not really connected yet. It's not going to take long, right? It's going to happen pretty quickly after that, right?
Well, you got to think,
a situation where they're catchable.
Very, very, very catchable. I mean, once that water, when that bed warms up, when they get that area, it's different areas. Like it can be deep.
Oh, how about the afternoon fish crap?
Oh my God.
So listen, not to get them off subject. I had a fish that I was on, and I had like 3 guys on the boat, and there's too much crap going on. You can't have a bunch of movement all over the boat, and dudes like casting multiple lines into a bed. You're just going to screw everything up. But yeah. I found her later in the afternoon, and I go back in the morning. I'm like, dude, she's not there. And he goes, maybe she's an afternoon fish, dude. Maybe she's not going to lock on until the afternoon. I go rolling back in the afternoon, and there she was. I was like, dirty dog, man. Yeah. Think about when you find that fish,
yeah, because that could be the warmest part of winter, or what I call them nighttime fish. Big fish are smart. Mm-hmm. How many baits you think she's done seen? I mean, especially during spawn. She could have been caught years ago. She been caught. Yeah. So when somebody sees a big fish first thing, you're like, oh, you stop. You're looking at her. You're chunking on her. Well, guess what? She's gone. You don't see her for a while. You come back later on, right before dark. She's there. If you can get her, you're witness to that. That right as the sun goes down, boom. Sometimes she will bite, but that's gonna be the only bite you're gonna get.
Frank has caught some of the biggest fish of the season in one of the most pressured areas of the entire chain.
Coming behind
like boat parades, and when you catch them?
Catch them in the afternoon, bro.
Like clockwork. So like he says, and you
got
go in there early, and you're gonna get your heart
going down.
Yeah, that last little golden hour. And
you got a 45-minute window is what I call it.
Probably because the pressure, right?
It's
literally the most pressured section of the lake.
Yeah, it's pressure, and you know what? And people don't realize what they're throwing on. They're not seeing them. If you're in that deep water, they're not really looking. I just watched the tournament in Lake Pansofsky, no lie. These guys swear to God, they were bed fishermen. They didn't have glasses on. I'm telling you, you got to find the right glasses. Not saying mine are best, but these right here are yellow, brown tints. And I can look in the middle of the morning. I can look in the middle of the night. But what I'm saying is they were just looking because they seen a white spot. Because the water's a little clear. You have to have good glasses to watch the fish, study them, do what your job is. You came in later on, you got to see the fish, you stood on your fish. You did your ground. You did exactly what you're supposed to do, and you caught it. But you bide your time with it. I don't care if it took you 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But I tell people it takes an hour. I watch people sit on fish for an hour and a half.
2.5 hours it took me to catch it. Compared to 928. I'm a clown.
But was it worth it? Was it worth
No,
it?
it was the most exhilarating thing
There you
ever.
go.
I'm 15-pound test. Come on.
I
It
bet
was
you
Frank
like,
said that's all I'm doing forever.
Hey,
You
I
know,
said that's it.
don't care.
I'm sold. Bang that shit on
I bet you
wax.
after this. I bet you after this conversation, it won't take you 2.5 hours in the morning.
No.
I bet you.
Absolutely
won't.
not. I
bet you
can't
won't.
I told him
wait.
the trick about the tail he caught next one. He caught in 6 minutes.
I cannot
928.
Yeah.
wait to get back on the water because it's just, it's
Guys,
changed
I
the
hope
whole
you're
game.
watching. I know this is a long
Changed the
deal,
whole game.
but we can all learn from it.
Yeah.
I don't care. Listen, if you know, ripe is rotting and green is growing. If you think you're the baddest dude on the planet, you're selling yourself short, and you're not going to get any better.
Open your eyes,
So,
listen, do everything.
We can all learn something from this, and
I'm gonna have to get you
I
on
hope you
speed
sit through
dial as
this
well.
and see this.
Call you in the
brother,
I
I'm
guess.
calling in a. Yo,
Brother.
he's like,
Where are they at?
Yeah,
Like,
what?
where's this fish at mentally right now? Do we need to go to counseling? Like, do
Yeah.
something for me?
Do I need to call
So-
in the 1-800-CATCH-ME hotline?
Good
And listen,
Lord.
when it's going down in an area, it's going down.
It's
in,
going
in,
down.
in that area. It's
Don't
going
leave
down. You're good. Yeah. So be patient.
So just
When
stay
I would
Stay
like,
there.
I
Bide your
literally,
time.
I
They'll
literally
come.
worked and caught these fish, and I couldn't like there was a couple fish that I'd seen earlier on, and I wanted my co to catch them, and I couldn't like read where they were gonna be at because there was just too much boat pressure in there for a little bit because I kind of let it go, and went back around and could see where they were set up at, and finally figure out like where the sweet spot was. So I repositioned the boat and let him cast, and I started looking. I'm like, oh my god, there's females swimming down the canal, and the bucks are just like boom, boom, boom. I'm like, dude, it's going down in this place. Like,
Yeah. No better feeling.
don't get in and out. Be patient and be calm and be still. Wear colors that are gonna match the sky, your background, whatever. Don't have too much going on in the front of your boat. In
The
front of
kneeling
these
part
beds.
works because they can see you and everything else. But one thing you've got to remember, don't do fast movements.
Yeah.
Don't just, you know what I mean? Just play your time, bide your time. If you want to go back to 35-pound video, go back there and look at that straight up. Watch what I'm doing. I'm so calm. I'm so relaxed. I'm not paying attention to it. I know what's going to happen. Once you do that, I promise you, your fish catches go up by 50%. 50%. Guaranteed.
So huge thing. Watch what he's doing. He's gonna tell you where she's at. You're not always gonna see her. So many of those fish. There was only one fish we seen the female right away. I think the one
Yep.
under the dock.
100 duck, yep.
And like James seen a buck, and he's like, dude, the 6-pounder I caught in the beginning of the canal, the very first fish we caught, because those fish sequences are in order. That's the order we caught him in.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing in between. But he's like, he's looking. She's over there. She's over there. She's over there. And he's like, I see her. You see her? When you look at that bed, memorize what that bed looks like, because, you know, maybe in your head you envision seeing this giant bass just swim out. Dude, it's going to be a shadow shift, right? You might just see a little shade of something over here, a little shade of something over here.
Yeah.
The change that wasn't there before, that's the fish, dude.
Yep.
9 times out of 10, that's a fish. Maybe it's a weird cloud or something like that, and I get like hyper excited because I'm like, oh my god, there's like giants over there, they're everywhere, right? But most of the time it's a fish. You really need to study these beds. Do not move on to them too fast. That's a huge lesson. And everybody's like, well, I already knew that, but are you doing it?
Yeah,
Right?
there's the point.
Like some of the things are so obvious, you're like, duh, right? But are you doing it? Because I wasn't,
I wasn't.
right? So just be a little calmer. Analyze things, right? Don't just start attacking, right? Analyze things. Be a little calmer about it. See what's going down. Watch for that buck. He's gonna tell you where she's at, and watch her mood. And when you get your bait out there, try to do it in a one cast, right? Get that bait out there. Get it in the sweet spot. If you watch what those fish are doing, they're gonna tell you where that bait needs to be.
If you hit it, you're going to know.
And wait to move that bait until you see her react, and then watch your cadence with it, and go with a little bit heavier weight than what you're used to. Obviously, it doesn't apply in every situation, but in most situations, it's going to work.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Well, I'm, you know, like I told you, I'm chunking 1.5 ounces. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 ounce. I mean, I'm telling you, people are like, oh, you're crazy. I'm like, okay, whatever. Watch this. I'll put it in there and do it. And in some occasions, you're right. Some occasions, you can't.
Yeah.
Because they're actually going to look at that and go, yeah, not today. And they're going to swim off because they've seen it 100 times. Sometimes you got to break it down. Sometimes, like I told you, wacky style Senko or something. Throw it in there. Because it's just free line. and you bop it, she might suck that down and not even think nothing of it. It's just something that got annoyed her because it's there. She's never going to leave the bed. She's going to suck it up, and you set the hook on her. That's certain things that happen in the beds. But 90% of the time, I'm telling you, ounce to 1.5 ounce weight, that's what I throw in the bed. It never leaves the bed. I peg it. When she pulls it off, and I catch a lot of giant fish, not saying I catch
Don't
all
keep that bobber stop cinched down.
Yeah, do not do that. That's the worst thing in the world. I mean, that's just one thing. I mean, if people that flip, you understand what I'm saying. You do switch it down, but if, a lot of people that flip will keep it about that far above it because when you set that hook, it's pulling down, so she ain't got the whole thing. I've lost giant bass flipping. Everybody's lost giant bass flipping. But if you do that on a bed, 99.9% of the time, you have no problems catching fish. You're not, because she's going to pick it up. Even the buck's going to pick it up. He's going to feel the pressure. He might throw it, but as soon as you pull it back, he's pissed. He's our game over. Put her in a box. Let's go weigh her in and let's get some money. That's how I look at it.
Make sure your
What
knots
kind
are
of
right.
hook, though? What kind of hook?
Man, I'm telling you right now, I'm using flipping hooks.
Okay.
So he throws flipping. I throw a 5/0 super
He throws a
line.
5/0 super line. I throw flipping hook. Everybody, it's whatever your preference is. That's how you do it. Me, I throw flipping hook just because it's me.
Flipping hook's gonna have more bite. EWG is gonna have more holding power.
Yep.
But here's what you're gonna run into. That is going to be an endless debate that nobody's going to win.
Nope.
I know guys that refuse, and I'm talking about some great anglers that refuse to use an EWG in any situation because they feel like they lose too many fish. I use an EWG always, and I use a Mega Mondo hook. Frank looked at me one day. He's like, dude, what is this? I had this little trick worm with this giant hook, and I was like, trust me, homie. That's just how I get down. And I don't miss. Frank, do I miss? I don't miss, brother. It's just like, if I'm, it's like
Confidence.
super rare.
Confidence.
Yeah, and it's just, for me, that's what works for me. And yeah, obviously in some situations I will opt for a round bend. But the hook thing, you know, that's up to you. That's your personal preference, and that's gonna actually be whatever, you know, your rod's gonna allow for, or your line, your setup, or whatever. You know, if you got a lighter setup and you're trying to throw a big heavy hook like I throw, it's just not gonna bury that hook up.
Yeah.
But yeah, Frank throws it. What do you throw, Frank?
It all depends on what I'm doing.
Most of the time.
It's going to be the EWG on a lighter weight, but with the heavier weight, I've been flipping with the...
Throwing a flipping hook.
Been putting a flipping hook on it. Haven't caught one like that yet, though, so... We'll see how...
I wish I was on the boat with you.
Oh, we're chopping in the biscuit.
Yeah.
29 degrees tomorrow. I'm going bed fishing.
Me too.
But we got to let this man go.
Yep.
If we missed anything, hit me up. His channel is, listen, it's up, but it's not ready yet. We're going to get him dialed in. We're going to get some, he just shot his intro. We're going to get that on there. We're going to get him pumping some content because he's a hidden gem. Guys don't know about this dude. He's a straight assassin. He's caught more bags over 40 pounds than I've ever seen in my entire life. It's unreal. And that's in tournaments. It's not with shiners or something.
I got proof.
It's not in a pond.
No.
These are on tournament waters. He's caught a lot of megas, a lot of teener bass. It's a rare deal. You got to check Frank out. This dude is always throwing up good content. He keeps it real. He keeps it honest. And then, obviously, don't forget about your boy. I'm here. I'm going to keep pumping good content for you guys all the time. If there's something that we missed, if there's something you want to see, leave it in the comment section. I'm trying to give you guys everything you want. You want to know the secrets? We're giving you the secrets.
Just gave you the juice,
Right?
honestly.
All right?
If you can't catch fish off beds now, just go out and just go pond fish.
Frank Oliva Fishing. James Snipes. Obviously, Gino Losi. Until next time, everybody.